But this just tells me like that they don't even seem to understand that they're so desperate to keep Trump in the news cycle because they don't know how to fill that empty seat if he's gone, right?
Yeah,
so
and their ratings dropped.
Does the ending of the trial make it any easier for Joe Biden to get things done? And how much of what happens is going to be about what Garrett just said, those senators going home to their districts and hearing from their constituents?
I'd actually argue it makes it a little bit harder, and this is a new theory that I've come up with in the last couple hours, but I think that the Republicans are going to look to unify, and they're going to unify around an agenda that includes stopping Joe Biden. I mean, that's what we've heard in these last couple days. I know Garrett and I were up on the Hill over the weekend, and we heard this a lot, that, you know, now they can focus on what they believe is a bad agenda by Joe Biden. So I have to imagine that's going to be the driving dynamic politically for Republicans in the next couple weeks. And listen, there's a lot of things at stake here.
The reality is the polls show people want something done. Republicans, even voters, the polls suggest. Many Republicans want to get something done. So I absolutely hear what you're saying, which is what I've been thinking about a lot since the end of the impeachment trial. But how do you align those two things?
Well, I'll tell you, polls also show that voters want immigration reform. They also want gun control.
All right, so that's one of the videos. It wasn't the one I actually wanted to show from this guy's Twitter feed. I think it's way buried down there now. But, you know, again, you've just got a network that's built up all of this time and energy covering Trump and really bolstering him because they could get clicks for it, not caring about what that would spell for the rest of the country. You know, and it's not just MSNBC. It's a lot of these guys, right?
Yeah, no, it's I don't even know what our media is anymore. It's just completely, there's no news coming out of it. It's just all nonsense. And the fact that you could sit around for 4 years saying some guy is the most dangerous person that has ever held the office and that he is a fascist and all this other stuff, and then be like, oh, I wish you'd come out and say something. Like, it's just insane. They're embarrassing.
It's very
embarrassing. It's like, this is supposed to be our media.
Yeah.
There's an article in Jacobin that was written recently, and it's about how the distortion of reality, all the fake news, it's all coming from cable news. It's not coming from social media. Social media is like 7% of it. The rest of it's all cable news. They're just lying out of their asses. And MSNBC is just a lie factor. I mean, the Russia stuff, like, you just listen to that, it would be, they'd tell you a story, and 2 days later, be like, that didn't. I mean, it's just garbage.
No, you know, that's an interesting point you're making, because it's social media that's getting blamed for creating and radicalizing a lot of these folks, but a lot of it is coming from cable news on both sides. Fox News is horrific, but MSNBC is, you know, right on their tail. There's no two ways about that. There's definitely a distortion that's happening.
You know, when Bernie won, I think it was Nevada, MSNBC was like watching CNN on 9/11. Like, it was the biggest tragedy that had ever happened. They were like almost weeping openly on television. It's not a news organization. It's just a bunch of rich people,
right,
who don't want the poor people to have power. That's all it is.
I agree. I mean, it's remarkable. You know, they wouldn't let Phil Griffin wouldn't let, what's his name, who's now no longer with us, such a great journalist. I can't think of his name right now.
Ed Schwartz.
Thank you, Ed Schultz. He wanted to cover Bernie's announcement that he was running for president, and Phil Griffin shut that down. I remember when that interview came out, it was kind of like shocking in the sense that it was so blatant, but then it was also not shocking because you're like, yeah, I believe that they would do that. You know? Yeah,
I believe they do that. And then you look at their guests, their expert guests. They're all ex-CIA. They've all worked for Raytheon, and they're ex-generals. It's just a giant war factory. Yeah. That's all they care about. And they will pump up Trump. They will try to push Trump to run again. They're not going to be able to get off that. They're just mainlining it into their veins at this point. They don't know what they are without Trump. I mean, their ratings went sky high, and then they plummeted after Biden got in office. Like, they're down like 90% or some crazy number. Like, they need Trump. Hey, turns out capitalist news isn't great, because if you tie ratings in to the news, then you get distorted news. It doesn't work.
Hope you enjoyed that last video. Hop on over to statuscoup.com where you can sign up for our email list and become a member for as low as $5 to $10 a month. Membership is how we grow. That's statuscoup.com/join. And remember, join our email list so we can grow the revolution with you.